A 45-minute drive. Then we go in and we'll take your own safari. So more to the northeastern side of South Africa.
Okay, the northeastern side. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And you live in a farming community, Petra?
A forestry
A
community.
forestry
Yeah.
community.
Forestry. Yeah. So if you could imagine, it doesn't snow here. It's too hot. But if you would think of the Canadian mountains with waterfalls and rivers,
Mm,
that's what it looks like here.
beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I just hit record, so I'm going to, for all of those that are listening on podcast, I'm going to repeat myself again, ladies. This is Brenda. I'm the host of Tuesday Talk. I am here with Petra today, Petra Steenkamp. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Uh, it's very difficult. It's
Okay.
Petra
Okay.
Steenkamp. I don't know if there is a
Pietra.
ES sound. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Pietra. Okay.
but I don't mind. It doesn't
Okay.
bother me.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we're on Tuesday Talk and we're live here. This is part of the Rooted Cafe. And thank you for listening in. And for all of you on Facebook, welcome. And we will just enjoy our time with Petra. We're going to be asking her some questions. My goodness, you are an amazing person. And I have been delighted to get to know you a little bit. You married your high school sweetheart, right?
Right. It's such an amazing story. I was about 9 years old when my friend neighbor and I made this box, and we wrote the boy that we're going to marry and put it in the box and dig it in the garden, and yeah. One day when we're 18 years old, we'll make a pack and dig it up. We never did that. But I wrote the name of the boy in my class with blonde hair and blue eyes because I knew my husband's going to have blonde hair and blue eyes. So in my early high school years, a guy asked me with fair hair and green eyes, and I didn't want to do it. And my sister said, "What's your problem?" And I just said, "I can't. He's not blonde. He doesn't have blue eyes. It's not my husband." And she rolled her eyes, and so it was really like a teen thing.
Yeah.
And so then I had to change high schools while being in this teen relationship, and I saw this guy with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. So 2 weeks later, I broke up, broke off with the other guy, and then
The
a
green-eyed
few
man.
months later, yes, shame. And then a few months later, and I only recently found out. My husband is very, I wouldn't say secretive about his relationship with God, but he keeps it precious and
Mhm.
hidden in his heart. So I only found out a few months ago that he used to pray and told God that he doesn't want to experience all the heartache that his friends are experiencing. Would he please allow him to marry his high school girlfriend? And it was just like in senior year that we met and started dating. And so it's an amazing story.
Wow, that's precious. Oh, your husband's a lovely man too. You are blessed, definitely.
I am.
And
Thank you, Brenda.
he's blessed with you too, but I mean, really. So you started
Yeah.
you started pursuing God when you were a little girl, like kind of on your own. You just made the decision that you were gonna know him.
Yeah. Yes, yes. It almost happens like a movie that starts in the middle and then goes back. And so I went to a Sunday church service, and the prophet there said that I have word for you. And I thought, okay. And he said, no, you love God. You love God the way you did when you were 12. And I thought, no, yeah, that's many years ago. So I asked my sister, because we were always sharing rooms, what did I do when I was 12 years old? Did you see me reading Bible? What did I do when I was 12 years old? It doesn't make sense. And she said, no, she doesn't remember because there's a big age gap between us. So she said, the only thing I remember is you shouting at me because the room was untidy. So, and I really sat and I spoke to God and I said, bring back those memories, bring back what it was. And so I realized my parents were divorced, and because of the divorce, the church really hurt my mother. Some things happened there, and so she never really took us to church. But then I would used to take a Bible and try and read it myself, but it was like the Shakespeare version of
Mm.
my native language, and I couldn't make sense of it. So I asked my grandmother, she belonged to a book club where you every few months you have to order something from their booklet or something. Could you please order me it like a kindergarten uh, Bible? So here I'm 12 years old reading a kindergarten Bible, trying to make sense of it all.
Fantastic.
Um, so 2 years later, when we had to go and buy school stationery, I asked my mother, could I please leave my highlighters and my expensive crowns and exchange it and get this easier translation of the Bible? And she didn't
Wow.
really know what to say. And she said, like it would be like an English Standard version, but for
Hmm.
my language. And she said, well, okay, I guess you can get both if you want the Bible. I can't say no to that. And that's how it started. And I tried starting in the front, but it just seemed bad reading these, being 12, 13 years old, having no really background experience of God. It seemed a bit vicious, but I always read these things that we should do and not do. And so eventually I enrolled myself into the Sunday school class so that I can graduate a year ahead of the rest of my friends.
A little
I had to know it
competitive
all.
there.
I had to know it all.
Good to know. Make a
And
note of that.
yeah, and then obviously when you get into your older teenage years, you put life's fun things ahead of God. And luckily he saved me again when my
Ah,
husband and I were living together before we got married.
uh-huh.
But so when he woke up one morning and he said, we have to go to church. And he heard the um, the sermon of the prodigal son, and
Mm,
together we took on the journey of following Jesus again.
wow.
Yeah.
How beautiful. And when did the revelation come to you? At what age that the Bible was not just something that was old and dusty and done away with, but that what Jesus taught in the New Testament was the Torah and was the words of the living God. When did that happen for you? When did you get connected to those roots?
Oh, firstly, uh, my husband and I, because we lived together, but we didn't do the intimacy. We didn't really get to know each other. It doesn't
Hmm.
make sense, but yes.
Uh-huh.
And so we thought that all this judgment that we receive, but they don't even know what's really going on. In fact, we are more likely cohabiting like roommates than
Hmm.
what they're really thinking is
Hmm.
going on. And we felt so bad for this shame that people are putting on us, but they don't really ask us, listen, what are you doing, what's going on? So I started trying to find out, what did the people do before churches made these laws of a marriage certificate, and
Hmm.
what was the definition of a marriage
Hmm.
before these laws were put in place. And so I started reading or the Old Testament, because that's what I thought, where you'll find out, what did they do, what did Isaac do, what did Abram do, what did they
Right.
do?
What did they do?
Yeah. And then I started reading these things of, you shouldn't eat pork, and um, you shouldn't be doing the following things on the Sabbath. And not that I really knew what the Sabbath was, but
Hmm.
so then I wanted to start saying, I shouldn't eat pork, I shouldn't eat shrimp. And my family told me, no, we're not under the law, we're not under that. And it's been about 4 5 years ago when I told my husband, you know what, I don't think I'm going to heaven.
Oh.
I don't think I have eternal life. I,
Mm.
I don't know if I have it. And he said, of course you know. I know you have it. I have it. I said, how do you know that you have it? And he said, you just know. If you accepted him, you just know. And I still felt, I don't know for sure. Because I think it's Paul, please correct me if I'm wrong, that says that every day you should be running this race, trying to get to eternal life. If you know the part I'm referencing
Hmm.
to, or that's how I understood it
That's
at
how you
that
understood it.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah. And So a few months went past, and I read the part where he said that you're going to come to me calling my name, and I'm going to say, "Depart from me, I don't know you."
Mm.
And
Okay.
all the rejection that I've just experienced because of divorce in the family
Mhm.
um, made me so scared that Jesus is going to say, "Get
Oh,
away from me.
yes.
The only father that I have left is going to," because my grandfather, who was my new male role model, committed suicide. So another disappointment.
Mhm.
And I thought, and I even had this thing that if my husband would leave me, he probably would, because all men do
Mhm.
that. But
Sure.
I just said, the only father or male figure that I have left is Jesus. And I couldn't bear the thought that he's going to say, "Go away from me. I
Mhm.
don't know you."
Mhm.
And even though I understood that he knows me, it more means that I don't really know him. That's what,
Mhm.
because he's my creator, of course he knows me.
Mhm.
And I started digging in to try and find, what does it mean to know God, to know him, to know Jesus, so that he doesn't say,
Mhm.
"Sorry, I don't know you." So the verse that I treasure so deep in my heart is 1 John 2:3. And it says, "And hereby we do know that we know him, if we keep his commandments. And he that says, I know him, and keep not the commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him." And
Mhm.
it hit me.
Mhm.
It just hit me. This is how I'm going to make sure that he knows me, that he
Mhm.
doesn't leave me here, because I couldn't
Mhm.
bear the thought
Mhm.
of him leaving me.
Okay.
I couldn't bear it. So
Oh,
that is
wow.
how my journey to
That's how it
following the
began.
whole Bible started.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then, and in the midst of that, because I want to make sure that everyone's understanding, in the midst of that, we realize that doing his commandments don't give us salvation. Salvation is the free gift that he gives us. But what you're experiencing in this is the abundant living of knowing him, of living life with him. This is what you're doing. So in walking out these instructions that we learn in the Torah, in the Bible, those become the ways of abundant life. And um, and that's what you're living right now, is an abundant life where you're being able to walk in these instructions where he's saying, this is how you get to know me. And
Exactly.
yeah, this is
Exactly.
how you
I
get to
should
know
have
me.
mentioned it
No, no,
somewhere in the
no, no,
story.
that's good.
To
No,
me too, it's not
I get it.
about salvation at all. It's
Yeah.
just that
But
I
that's
wanted
how
to make
you
sure
got
that,
there. But that's how you got
yes,
there. It was those questions. And I love that, because that's, you're being so honest. And let me promise you this, there are a lot of people that are thinking like that. Like, how do I know? How am I going to not be one of those ones that he says, I don't know who you are? How do we do that? It's the search. And that's what I love about you. So continue, Petra. I love that, because you're hot after it. Like, let's get this done. I want to know God. Let's go.
yeah, yeah. And I had to. So I don't know if this happens to most people, but then I went a bit extreme to
Sure.
the side,
I
towards
may or may not know understand that very well. I may know
where
a
I
person.
where I started thinking that you have to do these things, and that is
Pardon
the
me.
tick list. This is the tick list for you to get in. Being a teacher and grading every day,
Yeah.
this is how you pass. You need to have this many ticks, so you pass. You get in. You don't get in, I'm sorry. Try again. and thankfully, God sent me a husband with incredible wisdom.
Mhm.
And he would constantly reel me in, saying, "Petra, just get yourself back to the basis of salvation."
Yeah.
But I think the balance is much better now.
Mhm.
Now my heart is just to make Yeshua happy, to
Yeah.
make him
Yeah.
enough. In my language is spemen, for him to be happy. Isn't even a good enough word. You need to help me, Brenda. But for him to be happy about me, joyful about me. When he
Yeah.
looks at me, I want his heart to swell and burst, like when you look at a cute baby.
Yes. And can I just tell you that that is exactly how he feels about his children. I'm reminded of this because right now I've been doing a deep dig on the letter Kaf in the Hebrew language, and it's the palm of the hands. The letter Kaf is the palm of the hands. And I had a vision of the Holy One. It was a vision of a mother reaching down to her son and taking his precious little face in her hands, and with a look of adoration, just loving that, like there's nothing more perfect than this little face that I'm holding in my hands right now. And the Holy One revealed to me that's how he sees us. That's what he sees when he looks at us. And he reminded me that he has inscribed us right here on the palm of his hands. When Yeshua went to the cross and that nail went into his hand, it was an inscription in blood that we are his forever. So he will never look at us and say, I didn't know you. Who he would say that to are people that pretend to know him for gain, but it's not, there's no intimacy. They aren't walking with him. They're saying the words, but they're not walking with him. Because those that are walking and have accepted him like you did, they're inscribed forever. Can a nursing mother forget her baby? Maybe in a really bad situation. Kathy, you know about this. In a really, really bad situation, maybe a mother could forget her nursing baby. But Isaiah 49 says, but I will never forget you. I will never forget you. Look, see, I've inscribed you on the palm of my hand. That's what you were after. That's what you were digging for. And I love that so much because you didn't know how to get there. You got there reading these things, they were confusing, and you're like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to do this. And yeah, we all go a little little pendulum swing onto one side or the other, right? Like I said, I may know a little bit about that. Um, but you did that, and now that's when, from what I'm understanding in your story, that's where you are actually now in this place of, you get to rest in the fact that you know that you know that you know, and you get to walk out his instructions, which bring abundant life to you. They bring blessing to you. They bring release to you. They bring joy to you. They bring freedom to you. This is what we get to do. So thank you for sharing that with us, because what a beautiful way of getting in there and just saying, I need to know. So,
Thanks, Brenda. So many times
oh,
I thought that although my life has its traumas, because each person's trauma is the worst according to what they have experienced. And
yes,
I thought, but
yes.
I don't have these serious things happen to me. Divorce happened, and I used to say, but I'm fine. You can
Mhm.
be fine. I even once someone asked me so. Um, what do you think? Should we divorce? And I said, you know what? But it was bad. But I said, you know what? Your kids are going to be fine. We are fine until the marriage day, until those things when God resurfaces those things. And like I've never thought that I had to deal with rejection, and
Mhm.
that my worst fear in
Mhm.
future is going to be rejection. And it's just something that we all experience at
Yes,
some
yes.
time or another. But I
Mhm.
just thought that my salvation story isn't a dramatic one in my view. It wasn't something that was dramatic enough to bring glory to God. And
Oh,
I just realized more and more that even though I might think that my things aren't as traumatizing, that I'm fine, I also realized that the glory goes to God because of all the things
yeah.
He protected me from when
Yes.
I was experiencing rejection.
Well,
When,
that's so good.
yeah, so God is the glory of the things that happen, whether the spectrum in your own
Mm-hmm.
view is that it was very bad or not very bad. God is still to be glorified in our lives.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. You're so precious. Uh, okay, so there are so many other things I want to talk to you about. Okay, I love that. What has been so in your thinking of your in all of this? What has been the biggest thing that has changed since this settled in your heart? Like in your life, what's the biggest thing that changed in your life with you and your husband when this began to really settle in your heart, that you knew that you knew that you knew that he loved you and that you were his, and that now you're not earning your salvation, but you're just living abundantly? What was the biggest thing in your life that changed?
I think the other day I was watching a movie or listening to a movie while doing the dishes and cleaning. And at the end of the movie, or it was like, do you know the quick turn at the end of the movie? They always fall in love,
Yeah.
fight, and
Yeah.
then there's this turning point. So the
Mm-hmm.
turning point of the movie was where the guy told the one with the broken heart that, you know what, you have to take a chance on love. Love is, what was the word? Uh, Not guaranteed. Love cannot be guaranteed. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, no, you're wrong. I'm guaranteed of my husband's love. There is
Yeah.
nothing that makes me think for 1 second, my husband doesn't love me. He's
Right.
going to leave me. Love is guaranteed. You
Mm.
don't have love. You don't have true love. And I stopped the movie. I didn't even watch it. And as I turned, I realized even above my husband's love is
Right.
God's love, and his
Right.
love is guaranteed. And because
Yes.
of the guaranteed love that I know God has for me after this
Mm-hmm.
journey or this journey that I'm going to, there is no fear in me that
Yeah.
God is going to have my husband as a
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed love for me, despite my history, despite his
Mm-hmm.
history, despite the fears that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It has made this rock solid foundation in me. Not even the foundation and the pillar and the roof it's this rock solid building of who I
Right.
am with my husband, who I'm with my family, and who I
Mm-hmm.
am with
Mm-hmm.
God.
Mm-hmm.
It Finding the whole world, the whole word, the whole Bible application to your life makes you solid. There is
Mm-hmm.
so few things that could waver you that people often ask, but how are you dealing with this? How can you still be? I get sad and angry, but people say, how do you deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
When we experience a death in the family, also,
Yeah.
I told them, I'm not taking away the hurt, the
Yes.
sadness,
Yes.
the remorse, the mourning that goes on for years. But hasn't it been a bit selfish of us to try and persuade and bargain with God to keep? It was my father-in-law, and we all loved him so much, to keep him here because we are going to miss him.
Mm-hmm.
And so people first they were a bit offended,
Mm-hmm.
but later on they said, "Wow, how do you get that view? How did you get that view?" And it was because of my solid trust in
Mm-hmm.
God that has been formed, because of following his com- commandments, because of following his ways, because of being completely trusting him,
Yeah.
because what he says and what he did and what he does in his word.
Mm. So trusting him. That's what's
Trusting him.
really changed. So it's beautiful how he begins healing the wounds and the fractures of our heart, um, piece by piece, small piece by small piece. He begins healing and restoring those fractures so that we can look at him and really set our trust in him, that no matter what, because we don't, you know, we don't have any control over things outside of, we really don't have any control over anything. Let's just be honest.
Yes.
Come on. Let's not slide through that one. Come on now. But
Did you think anti-aging is
yeah.
going to stop the
No.
lines? Nope.
Nope.
Hair dye stop the grays?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah. But being able to really trust him because he is unmovable, he is unshakable, he is unchangeable. And and so when we are learning like you have done in your young life, and I'm so impressed that you can actually trust him. And what that looks like today is going to be different than what it looks like tomorrow or in 10 years or in 20 years because of life, because of the things that happen in life. But when we have our trust in him, that is the foundation you're talking about is so solid and so firm that no matter what's going on around about us, we run right back to Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Who's called? We're called. Who loves him? The ones that he has loved. And when we receive that love, when we say yes to that love, then we know that in that all things are going to work together for good. Does everything feel good? No. Does everything make you happy? No. Is everything the way you wish it was? No. However, if we really truly trust him and that foundation you're talking about, then we know that whatever is going on around here, he will work it for good. It might have been like this week's Torah portion talking about Joseph. It might be that someone has had evil intent and purposely wounded and hurt and harmed and devastated you or someone that you love. Is that a good thing? Well, no, that devastation is not a good thing. However, this is where we get to trust him. If we will trust him that he will work those things out to bring about good. When we get to trust him, then we get to let go of the control of what's happening around us. And we get to truly be able to say, Father, you know what's best, and your plan is going to move forward. Let me just be part of that plan. And that's kind of that's where we go. And that's maturity.
And I think also a thing of then following his statutes and his commandments and his
Yeah.
ways is
Mm-hmm.
a way of professing that we are giving the control over to him. Even though
100%.
I can't afford to take a Sabbath now. I'm starting a new
Yeah.
business. I can't.
Uh-huh.
I need to
Yeah.
meet with these people. And you have to submit that control to God. To
Yes.
take 10 days off in Sukkot with us, that is the busiest time in our
Mm-hmm.
country. No one ever, in fact, our public schools close for half a week in that time. Everyone is going on as normal. No such thing as a 10-day holiday in the middle of some busiest time of the
Yeah.
world. And saying that taking a week off earlier than their Easter to have your Easter,
Mm-hmm.
while their Easter is the time to make money, it just following those things gives complete control to God. So also it wasn't a way again to earn salvation. It was a
Right.
way of getting my flesh to
Yes.
conform to his ways so that
So
my
good.
mind, my flesh, and my spirit will
Mm-hmm.
trust him, will follow him, will be content with what he puts in my life. So to me, it's an act
It's
of
beautiful.
sacrifice and to
Beautiful.
getting myself under his control.
I love that. That is such wisdom. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. They're not laws that are beating you up and, you know, just trying to push you down. They are ways to walk in freedom, right?
Right.
They're ways to get your flesh, like you said, to get your flesh under control. To like,
the blessing that it has brought hasn't been the blessing that you might have been taught in other biblical worldviews, that these blessings would always be in money or in
right?
provision. Not
Agreed.
provision,
Mhm.
excessive provision, or
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
excuse me, my head's
Yeah.
been busy with Afrikaans the whole day. But so So in now I'm going to get a heavy successful business, and I'm going to get fancy cars and a grand house and lots of
Mhm.
kids, and but that the abundance of joy, the abundance of peace in my house, the abundance of
Hallelujah.
peace in my day-to-day life, is that the my prosperous life
Mhm.
is prosperity in peace, in joy, in
Yes.
in my mind, not racing everywhere, that I can
Yeah.
be myself and content with who I am, with what I am, and with where I am, because of the prosperity that has been given in my spirit and in my soul.
Oh, I have goosebumps. That is so beautiful. Oh, that
And
is
then
wonderful.
once a month, all those thoughts
Uh-huh.
go down the drain, and your husband just needs to tell you, you know what, go and take a nap. Go and take a nap. You'll feel better after a nap. And then, oh, that's why I'm here.
That's a quick fix. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Oh, I love that. Petra, you are a woman of wisdom. You really are. I was Petra. Uh, this morning I was looking up your name in Hebrew, and the pay is the voice. It's the way that you communicate verbally. It's what comes out of your mouth. It's what you put into your mouth, but it's also what comes out of your mouth, the voice and the communication and the words. And the next letter in your name is the tet, and that's the number 9, which is that place of brewing. It's that place where things take time to develop. It's where hidden things are, and there's a brewing going on within there. It's um, it's also symbolic of like a womb that carries a baby for 9 months. You don't see it, but it's happening and it's growing and it's forming and it's developing. And that tet is the ways, the words that you're speaking forth. They're not just words, there are things that are being put in there, and there's things that are brewing within there that are going to come forth. They might not come forth right in this minute. They're going to take some time, but it's who you are. It's your character. It's what's been being built in you. And those things are inside that beautiful container, and they become released only when the timing is right. And the next letter is the resh, which that next letter, and it's the head. It's the head, but it's also the king off of his throne. So, in other words, it's leadership. It's that leadership role. And those things that are brewing will come out, and they will be on the head, on your head, in a leadership role that you're going to be walking out. And the next letter is the hey, revelation. And so the last letter and the first letter, the words and the revelation, that's all combined. And what it's combined in is that you have this beautiful vessel that's just being poured full of beautiful things going in, coming out in their time, going in, coming out. Some things are hidden, some things are revealed. And then there's that resh, which is the leadership. It's the king off of his throne. It's the one who comes into the midst of the people and walks. It's the head, the intellect being covered by the word of God in wisdom. And that is just those are just a little bit, a little taste of what the letters are that are in your name and how that walks out. And you're sitting here talking, and I'm like, ooh, I'm seeing them walk across the screen. It's like you are. He knew what he was doing when he named you. It's who you are, sister. And here you are, this young woman, this beautiful young woman, sharing these beautiful words of wisdom about having your mind renewed, about hearing the word of God and not letting it beat you up, and learning to put your disappointments in him, because he's solid and he is who he is and he's never changing. I mean, I'm listening to this, and I'm like, what in the world? How precious and how beautiful. And he has placed you in a place of teaching and in the leadership. And that brings us to our next point, is that you have just recently started a beautiful community homeschool. You want to tell us a little bit about that and about the miracle
Yeah,
How that
sure.
happened?
I just have to say that I didn't expect it, so I didn't have tissue, so I had to grab the toilet paper.
Okay,
We still
well,
have
this is
we s- we still have enough supply in South Africa.
ah, I love that. Yeah. Hey, sister, that toilet paper here where we are, that's gold. That is gold.
No, we run for the meat. We don't care about toilet paper. We'll make a plan. We run for the meat.
Oh, that's too funny.
Thank you, Brenda. Before I answer that question, I was
Yes.
so always wondering. I was saying, I know that I have to wait till you come again, Lord, to give me my white stone with my new name. I
Mm.
always just wanted my new name. But thank you, Brenda. I'll wait. I love this. If this is me and this is my name, I love it. Thank you for sharing,
Oh,
Brenda.
yes.
Thanks.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, you're
So
so sweet.
about the homeschool center that I opened.
Yes,
So
yes,
it was so concerning to me that I couldn't follow the feasts because of working in a public school system.
yes.
Um, that I I something that I know about myself is that I'm loyal to the point that I can damage myself with my loyalty. So I'm too shy, ashamed. I don't know what to call it, to go and ask for leave. To, for
Okay.
example, to
Mm-hmm.
say, unless I can't even get out of bed, I won't call in sick for just some reason. It's just not the way.
Right.
It's not my way, the way my mother taught me. So I it was this massive internal struggle
Mm-hmm.
to get the nerve to go and ask for leave for this. And even though my boss is a Christian and she would probably understand, it's just
Mm-hmm.
that finding the confidence to speak about this because the judgment that comes when following the whole word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my husband that I couldn't deal with this anymore, to the point once that I was thankful during Sukkot that God made me so sick that I couldn't get out of bed, so that at least for the Sabbath days of Sukkot I was at home, even though I was sick.
So your sickness
But
was
I'm
actually a
thankful.
blessing.
A blessing. It was a blessing because the only thing I could do was rest.
Oh,
But and I just told my husband that I I don't like going to work anymore. I can't be part of a system that fails. If you look at the South African statistics of education, it brings nightmares. I can't be part of the system that fails. And they're also bringing in this new UN policy about sexual education. And I told my husband I couldn't be standing in front of the pearly white gates with the book where they tell me, you know what, these people made these decisions in life because what you have taught them. And even though it wasn't my choice, I was still the one doing the acts of
okay.
teaching them these possibilities of life.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm not sure if I would have been judged for it or not, it didn't sit right with me.
Right.
Um, so he also said that these things, I can see that you're unhappy. What do you want to do? I said, well, nothing. I want to sit at home. And when they call me and they say, Auntie Susie needs a lift to the doctor, I get in my car, I go pick her up and I take her to the doctor. And then I said, so, and then if they say there is this foster child 5 hours away, you need to go and get them, I'll go and get them so that I can just be available for
Mhm.
anyone who needs me. I don't want to be locked down and in a routine anymore. And then, unfortunately, that didn't happen. But the most amazing thing happened that it just I was always thinking, as soon as I have my own babies, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to homeschool them. There's no way I'm putting my kids into this system. There's no way. There's
Mhm.
no way. And I've been doing homeschooling research and certificates and diplomas and courses for 4, 5, 6 years.
Mhm.
So much that I've been uh, leaving the public school like, oh, let me just get through this so I can get home and study homeschooling. And I did my best when I was there, but I was just waiting for 2 o'clock to come so that I can go home. And then it just my husband and I were sitting, so we thought we're preparing all these things in our lives for what if.
Mhm.
So he said, if I were to die, he would travel the word and preach the word of God. And I said, so if you're like that, if you weren't with me anymore, I would get on the first plane and go and teach overseas. And we both realized we are doing this normal American dream white picket fence routine
Mhm.
for what if?
Yeah.
We need to buy a family car because what if? What
Mhm.
if we have a baby next year? What if whatever? What if, what if?
Mhm.
And we realized we're following this. Why? Why? God will give it to us when we need it. We don't need to prepare for what if. He is going to prepare for the what if that isn't really a what if because
Yeah.
he's the one in charge.
Yeah. It's a done deal. It just hasn't
It's
happened yet.
yeah. And I then said, so why don't I start homeschooling now? And I asked God while doing laundry one day, God, when making this transition, what should I do? And I said, what is my purpose in life? And he said, your purpose is to teach other people's children.
Mm.
I said, oh man, I won't get out of teaching. And then this combination of things just came together so wonderfully when I got the idea that I'll homeschool the other people's children, not because I think they're not worthy, they're not good enough, because they can't. They can't be there now. God needs them to provide for their families or to serve other purposes, and I can help. And I love the idea of a community uh, together rising the next
Wow.
generation. And so that's how it started because I knew that our community needs a place where our children's moral values can be shared. Because I've seen a post someone made that said, they say it takes a village, and
Mhm.
I've seen the village. I don't want them. And I thought,
Oh
that's
man.
exactly what I thought of my kids. So I need,
Wow.
so there is a bit of selfishness in there also. So I thought, then I need to create the village that I want for
Mm.
my kids to grow up in. And it's
Mhm.
so easy to always blame politicians, to blame
Yeah,
the mayor, to
it
blame
is.
community. Oh, but you know what? Satan is everywhere. We can't get away
Mhm.
from it. No, we have to do something.
Mm.
So that was the start of it. And then I got the idea and I thought, how am I going to do this? Because in our country, it will be a bit dodgy to do it at my home. People don't
Mhm.
really trust each other because of the situation. So I needed a neutral ground. And within the next 2 days, the pastor from a Sunday serving church called us over and he said, you know what?
Of course he did.
Yeah, no. And he called us over and he said, well, we had this vision for our church to have a learning center. And initially we thought it would be for a high school, but my wife and I can't do it. We're too busy. We had to now, because of everything going on in the world, homeschool our own kids. We don't have time. And we want you to do it. And I said, but are you sure you want me to do it? I never taught your kids. Are you sure you want to connect the image of your church with me? Are you sure that I'm the right person for this? Because you don't know if I'm a good teacher or not, but you want to put me as a connection to your
Mhm.
church.
Mhm.
And we went out, and my husband said, this is an opportunity. We have to see if they have any prerequisites, go
Mhm.
through it and determine if, for example, they'd say no, we have to attend their church to do this or whatever.
Mhm.
None of that. They're fine with the other beliefs that we have. They are convinced that as long as we have the same view of salvation, they're fine with it.
Wow.
So we started this thing and we started the school and the registrations and, oh, it's not a school, the center, whatever,
Mhm.
to to prepare these things. And I put in my letter of resignation. And with social standard, teachers in South Africa are paid pretty well in compared to other careers.
Mhm.
Um, and to leave that is quite scary. And I
Mhm.
was just diagnosed a few months ago with endometriosis, which would mean that if I quit, I will lose my medical aid or medical insurance, I think you call it.
Mhm.
And so all these things, and I thought maybe I should stay just for this medical insurance because it's going to be costly. Maybe I should stay because of pension money. I don't know, retirement,
Mm-hmm.
my retirement fund, and all these things. And then God just confirmed to me over and over again in dreams, even though I didn't want to believe it,
Mm-hmm.
that this is the right thing to do. So we started it, and the first people who phoned me and said, okay, can we come and discuss it with you? We see that you're opening a homeschool. We also want to do it. So I invite them over to my house, and it's something that doesn't happen in our country. It's unsafe. You don't just go to other people's houses. And I said, or we can meet at the restaurant if you're scared. And they said,
Mm-hmm.
no, they'll come to my house. It's fine. So they come to my house and we have this stiff meeting. And this is my
Mm-hmm.
first time. So I've got all my notes, my presentation, my binder to give them. Everything is perfect. And this very stern meeting. And this is how it works. And this is the law. And this is your options. And you are in charge. No, 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 no. And she said, okay, are you going to do any extramural activities? And I'm like, no, that's your responsibility. Blah, blah. And she said, oh, because you know what? On Saturdays we don't want to do anything because we're Sabbath observant. And I put down my cup and I look at my husband because he was talking to her husband. And I said, Gabrand, Gabrand, they're doing Sabbath, they're doing Sabbath. And the rest of the meeting for 2 hours was about God and his ways and how we met each other. So the very first people that God sent to my school were people like us. After 4 years of walking this alone, the
Oh,
school
wow.
made us, gave us friends in this community. And now I get the honor of teaching their children the ways because they
Wow.
are
Wow.
only been doing it for a few months and they were so
Mm-hmm.
excited to have someone to teach their kids. So it's such a miracle, and God is adding the right people to it. Although I get a lot of inquiries, God is sending those that
Mm-hmm.
need to be there and that I need to have in my life to
Mm-hmm.
teach me. So it's such an amazing story, and I'm so
What an
excited to see
honor.
what God has planned with this and with the next generation.
Oh
I'm
my
so excited.
goodness. Yeah, that's a miracle. First of all, everything was didn't they give you 6 months with no rent for the
Oh,
yeah. Didn't they?
yeah, it's amazing.
That's just a little thing. 6
Yeah,
months rent free. Just a little thing.
6 months
God
rent
just
free.
threw
Yeah,
that in.
and while I'm so concerned, how am I going to pay my vehicle because it's
Mhm.
still on lease? How am I going to do this and pay rent because rent in is about
Mhm.
this and this and this? And they're like, okay, so we had the meeting with the others. We're going to give you a 6 month period, no rent, no rent, no electricity bill, no water bill. I even have internet.
Oh.
It's
Oh, and
amazing.
okay. Yeah. Well, that's
And
good.
then after 6 months, we'll see how many enrollments you have and we'll work something out like 5% of your enrollment fee per learner. So
Wow.
if I have two learners, the rent is like nothing.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
it's amazing. It's
It is
amazing how,
amazing.
and I can get so cross with myself because then this afternoon again I thought maybe my enrollment fee is a tad bit high. Maybe I should bring it down. And then Gabran said to me, did you already forget how many people he sent? He'll send the right ones, those who shouldn't be there.
Mhm.
He'll send the right ones.
Right.
So
Right. And
it's
he will
just,
make a
it's
miracle for them to be able to pay that fee too,
to
because
buy that
their
for me.
children are supposed to be with you and they're supposed to be with you.
And
It'll
that's what
it'll
I'm
work
praying
out.
for.
Yeah.
That's why I'm praying for that those that God really wants there will come and that we would provide for them so that they won't need to have the stress of giving their
Mhm.
kids a good education.
Can I just let me just recap this? I mean, I'm blown away. I'm sitting back here thinking, what in the world? So, a few months ago, and you and I actually had this conversation when you were working at the school still, when you were still in the school, when you were still teacher full time in the school district. Uh, you said, I really don't like not being able to have time off during the festivals. This is important to me. This is foundational of who I am. And my husband and I want to be able to have this time where we can really dedicate our time. I don't want to have to worry about Yom Kippur. I don't want to have to worry about Passover. I don't want to have to worry about taking time off for those days that are valuable to me. And we just had this conversation, and now here you are in the midst of, just like that. I'm sure it didn't feel like that to you, but here you are in the midst of this, and now you have a homeschool venue, you have students, you have a facility, everything's being taken care of. Uh, you're being able to teach from the perspective of the Torah, of the commandments and the ways of God from a beautiful perspective, from a beautiful way, not legalistic and not condemning, but a beautiful way. You're being able to have relationship with parents. You're being able to impact your community. This is a huge miracle.
It's amazing how it all came together. But saying with that, I feel like this big responsibility. So
Hmm.
so all the ladies here, please pray
Yes,
that I
we
do
absolutely.
justice to
Yes,
the responsibility, so that
we
the
will.
next generation can stand up. And even if it starts small in my community, please, I need your help to do this.
Oh,
I need your prayers, please.
thank you. We will be praying for you. We will have you on our prayer list and your community. Petra, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for coming on here today. And I mean, our time is already up. Can you believe that? Just like that, it
Wow.
just went by. Thank you for coming on and just sharing your heart with us and being vulnerable and being a mighty woman of God, a woman of wisdom, a woman of understanding, a woman who has a heart for the Father, a woman who is following after Yeshua and boldly and passionately. Thank you for just setting the bar and showing women your age, showing young women um, that it's possible. It's not just possible, it's wonderful. You are an amazing example. And we're so delighted to have you here and so delighted to hear your story and so delighted to rejoice with you in these amazing miracles that he has done for you. And we're looking forward to hearing the reports as your school grows, as he decides how that's all going to look, the people that'll be added. It's going to be amazing. Thank you for allowing us to be part of this journey.
Thank you, Brenda. And also
Yeah.
to the ladies in the community, those who made themselves my new mommies and those who made
Yes.
them my new sisters, Kathy.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone encouraging me, like you've seen now with what I said, that acceptance is a tender part
Mhm.
um, of my heart. Like they said, the Chinese cups that they fix. It's
Yes.
a tender part in my heart, and all of the ladies. I can't even read
Yeah.
all the names, but
Yeah.
really each one of you. Thank you for
Mhm.
accepting me the way I am
Mm.
with all my things. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you for loving me.
You know that gold, that story you're talking about with the cup that's broken and the gold is poured in and then it becomes a treasure of great value. The broken pieces do not devalue you. Being broken doesn't diminish who you are. It's as he's healing you and bringing your pieces together. It's so valuable. It's so beautiful. The brokenness is what makes you relatable to other people. You know, when we present ourselves as being perfect, who can understand that? Who can relate to that? No. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and we walk out loud, which I have always had a hard time doing, but I'm doing, I mean, I have been learning to do that a lot better. But when we do that, then the hard things that have happened in our lives and how the Holy One has put the balm of Gilead upon us. And then we can share that so that other people that may be going through something similar can say, wow, that's how she got through that. I can trust him. I can do that. And they can trust him. So thank you for sharing your story. We look forward to hearing in a short period of time all the wonderful things that God is going to be adding to you. So thank you so much. And for all of those that are listening on our podcast, thank you so much for joining our Tuesday talk. We do this every week. We have great, amazing people like Petra that come on and share their hearts, and it's so wonderful that we can do that. And for all of you on Facebook, we love you so much. And if you are live with us right now, jump on Zoom and meet us for the after party here on Zoom. And again, Petra, thank you so much for joining us today. And we just bless you, and let us know how things are going. We want to stay in touch with how the school is moving forward, and all of the other things that God's promised you and how those things are going to come. We didn't even get a chance to talk about some of the other things that are on your heart, like adoption and fostering and things like that. But we'll do that on our next time that we get together and talk. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me.
You bet. Thank you so much. And goodbye to all of our lives. And we will talk with you next week. Thanks again.